I've had a thumb pick on my thumb and a spare in my pocket for over 20 years. It wasn't the easiest thing to integrate into my guitar playing at first, but once I eventually got the grips with it, it became the foundation of my sound. For me, personally, a thumb pick is now an essential part of playing fingerstyle guitar. Now, that's all well and good for Travis picking or boom chick picking, but what if you come up against a song or an arrangement that's specifically been written for fingerstyle guitar that also requires you to play quick single line melodies that you would normally associate with flat picking? How do you do that if you're already wearing a thumb pick? You could, of course, learn to play those phrases like a classical guitarist would or a flamenco guitarist, using a combination of fingers in rapid succession. But there is another way. In this video, let's take a closer look at an often overlooked and rarely taught technique for fingerstyle guitar, using a thumb pick to flat pick.
He'd be playing single line melody, and then he'd say, then he'd give me a solo, right? And he'd go, yeah. So I'd have to go. I had to do, you know, single line stuff myself. So I worked out how to play like with a straight pick, with a thumb pick, you know. Not many fingerstyle players do that.
This might sound like a very simple concept, and it is simple. It's basically using a thumb pick as a plectrum. It might be one of those things that you assume is really easy because you see the likes of Tommy Emmanuel and Richard Smith and all those masters of fingerstyle guitar, and integrating this kind of technique into their playing is just effortless for them. But then you might try it yourself and realise this is actually quite difficult. Welcome to my world. In this video, I want to show you this technique close up. I'll play some examples for you, and I'll always have the tab at the bottom of the screen so you can play along if you want. And in later sections of the video, I'll give you some great exercises and drills to help you learn this, get it up to speed, and then integrate it into your own fingerstyle playing. With a thumb pick, the idea is that you grip it in pretty much the same way as a flat pick, but you have to bear in mind that with a thumb pick, the blade and the tip are much thinner and there's much less material there as well. So if you're like me and you play with quite heavy plectrums, so I usually play with at least a 1.5mm plectrum and usually higher, sometimes 2.5mm. So my thumb pick feels slightly different when I'm playing this kind of technique. So I have to bear that in mind. What that means is that you sometimes have to support the thumb pick a bit more with your index finger, and that means a slightly tighter grip. Okay, not so tight that you might bend the thumb pick or warp it or even snap it, depending on what material it's made of or what the brand is, which we'll talk about later on. So you do need to support it a bit more, but not so hard that your hand tenses up or your thumb starts to hurt or you feel like you're bending or twisting the thumb pick. So it's important to remember that. All right, let's jump into the first example. I'm going to play you an Irish traditional tune called John Ryan's Polka. And normally in Irish traditional guitar, this would be played with a plectrum, but I'm going to play it with a thumb pick. So I'm going to play it first of all for you. I'll put the tab up at on the bottom of the screen, like I said, and afterwards we'll talk a little bit about the technique. But I just want to show you straight away what I mean by flat picking with a thumb pick. So this is John Ryan's Polka. Hopefully you will have noticed that I was more or less constantly playing alternate picking, which is using a strict pattern of downstrokes and upstrokes in succession. So it should always be down, up, down, up, down, up. what you could do, if you're not too hot on alternate picking in general, is try and hit these two things at once. So hit the ground running, wear a thumb pick, and try and practice both getting used to flat picking with a thumb pick and integrating alternate picking together. And that leads on quite nicely to my next point. The brand and the type of thumb pick that you buy is crucial. Well, let me put it this way, it's crucial that you find and settle on a thumb pick that works for you. So I can tell you that the brand that I've been using for years and years, and I don't think I'll ever change, is the Dunlop brand. Just the bog standard Dunlops, but also recently I've really enjoyed using the Dunlop heavies. Now, I'm not talking about gauge as in, you know, small, medium, large. I use mediums, by the way. I'm actually talking about a type of thumb pick that Dunlop make. They seem to be slightly chunkier and a bit more sturdy than their normal, you know, the white or the tortoiseshell thumb picks. So I've started using these heavies maybe the past 2 years, and I really like them. But because they are a bit chunkier and they have a bit more material, they really suit me. But that's just me. For you, you need to find, you need to go through as many thumb picks as you can afford, and try out different sizes, small, medium, large, try out different thickness, different brands, just whatever works for you. There are a lot of different types of thumb picks out there, obviously. They're like kind of normal classic ones like the Dunlops. There are some that are essentially like teardrop plectrums that you attach to your thumb. Some people get real success from them. I wasn't pushed on them myself. There are the Fred Kelly slick picks, and there's also a Fred Kelly specific type called a fast pick, I think it's called, fast or quick pick. They really didn't work for me. The blade of the thumb pick is so narrow, and there's also some material missing from the sides as the tip or the blade kind of joins the rest of the thumb pick. They did not work for me whatsoever. They kept getting caught, those gaps just kept getting caught in my strings, and I can't rely on them. But again, you need to find out what works for you. So experiment. By all means, start off with my recommendation, which are the Dunlops. But also try the heavies as well. You might get a lot of joy out of the heavies in the same way that I have. Alright, in this section of the video, I'm going to give you a selection of exercises that will really test your skills and help you get this technique up to scratch. The first one that I want to show you is actually from Tommy Emmanuel himself. This I saw on one of his instructional videos that I think came out in the late 80s or early 90s. So I don't think a lot of people know it. So I'll play it for you first of all, and I'll put the tab up on screen. And remember to always alternate pick. That's key to this. So I think this one's particularly good because it gets you to alternate pick across strings pretty much the whole way through the lick while wearing a thumb pick. This exercise is one that I came up with myself to help practice this technique. It's essentially a major scale. It kind of ripples its way down an octave or 2 octaves if you want to be brave. And you can play it anywhere in the neck. So today, let's just play it in C major, which is here, okay? And it sounds like this. We'll play it slowly first of all. Okay, and that's just going down 1 octave, and like I said, you can extend it and play it the whole way down. So what I mean is this. And as you begin to get more confident with this, you can begin to speed it up. This exercise is taken from another Irish traditional tune. This one's called the Belfast Hornpipe. But really, you can substitute this for any other Irish traditional tune, or like an American fiddle tune or a bluegrass tune. Any of these will be perfect to help you get this technique up. But for now, I'm going to show you this exercise based on the Belfast Hornpipe, and it goes like this. And again, as the confidence builds, you can try and speed that up. Okay, so maybe you're starting to get this technique up to speed. What do you do with it? It's all well and good to be able to play a flat picking piece with a thumb pick. That's the technique itself. But how do you integrate this into your fingerstyle playing? Well, to do that, there's only one way around it really, and that is to practice it. And I'm going to show you some real world examples of this. I have a couple of songs to show you where that exact technique comes into place. These are all fingerstyle songs, and they have licks or riffs or whatever, sections, phrases that have to be flat picked with a thumb pick. The first one I want to show you is probably one of the first, if not the first, songs that fingerstyle players learn, and that is Windy and Warm. It's a really simple riff itself. It's this. It's really not a lot going on there really, but for me, as someone who was not used to doing this with a thumb pick, I used to panic when that part of the song was coming up. So I'll just play the whole section for you. It's from the B section of the song, and it goes like this. The song goes around then. So, and so on and so forth. And hopefully you notice there as well that all of those notes are alternate picked. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay? So if you are choosing to practice these things, if you're serious about getting this technique up to speed, make sure you're always alternate picking. Pay attention to your picking. Take it from someone who didn't pay attention for a lot of years and had to relearn this stuff. This exercise is from my own arrangement of two Walt Disney songs, King of the Swingers and Bare Necessities. So I'll play it first of all for you, and hopefully you'll see the lick in question, and then I'll slow it down for you if you want to practice it, and obviously I'll put up the tab as well. Okay, so the lick that I was talking about is just at the very end. In this example, you are jumping straight from fingerstyle playing, using finger and thumb, Travis style, playing the lick with the thumb pick as a flat pick and jumping straight back in. There's no pause. And if you're interested in seeing my full arrangement of that, if you search on my channel for Disney Medley or King of the Swingers, you'll actually see a version of me playing this live with Tommy Emmanuel in Scotland in 2018, so you might enjoy that. Now we're getting into the really tough stuff. If you thought the first two examples were bad, this is from a Tommy Emmanuel song called Luttrell. Again, it's a 95% fingerstyle song, so he uses Travis picking the whole way through, except for a number of licks. I'm going to show you one of them. It's from the B section and it goes like this. Again, just like in the previous example, you have to jump straight away from fingerstyle into flat picking with the thumb pick and then back again. So I'll just play it slowly for you. It's tough. This example comes from the fingerstyle guitarist's national anthem, that is Cannonball Rag by Merle Travis. Again, it's a Tommy Emmanuel edition. He adds this lick into his version of the song, and I'll just play it for you in context and then I'll show you the lick a bit slower, and I'll put the tab up on screen. It goes like this. So hopefully you can see there that most of that was fingerstyle playing, except for the chromatic lick, which was this. And you're back in the fingerstyle. And with all of these things, it's always a good idea to use a metronome. So start off, I always tell people, start off comically slower than you think it needs to be, and make sure that you're dead on, that your accuracy is just spot on, and then bring it up slightly each time. So play it maybe 5 to 10 times at one speed, then bring it up slightly, same again, rinse and repeat. Alright folks, that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you enjoyed the content, and if you're someone who is interested in learning this technique or practicing it and getting it integrated into your own fingerstyle playing, I really hope that you found some of the exercises and advice useful. Let me know in the comments below if you're someone who already maybe uses this technique, maybe it's something that you learned how to do organically, maybe you're someone like me who had to sit down and drill this stuff until it became natural. And if you're someone who has never tried this before, let me know down below if you've been inspired to, and if not, have you developed any other unusual techniques along the way. Until the next time folks, look after yourselves, and until the next one, keep picking.